Okay, so we've got our topo now and our levels, and what we want to add is a floor in here. So we're going to add a floor plate. We're going to go to the first floor, okay, and do a floor plate from this first floor right here. And you'll notice when we go to the first floor, we don't see the topo, okay? And the reason is because it's not, in a sense, turned on. Uh, it's there, but it's just not made visible. So I'm going to click out here to the side, uh, and this view properties will come up. I'm going to go into as edit visibility graphics. Okay, I'm going to click on edit, and I'm going to scroll down here to things to make visible. You'll see masses aren't visible, parts aren't visible, and if we keep going, we're going to see topography isn't visible. So I'm going to say okay, apply, okay. Now, it still didn't appear. The other thing might be is the view depth has not been set properly. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to view range. Okay, and sure enough, it says the bottom of the view starts at the first floor. Well, the topography is actually a -1 foot below that, right? So that's the reason we're not seeing it now. And so I'm going to say depth of level. I'm going to set this to 1 foot here, -1 foot, sorry. And let's just go ahead a minus 5 feet, just and apply that and say okay. And of course, when I did, it extended the view downwards so that now in that view is included the topography. So now we have our topography here. So now we're ready to do our floor. And so we're going to go into architecture and we're going to go to floors. And once again, we're going to do a structural floor in this case. Uh, it's going to be generic, so it doesn't really matter. And it says a floor generic 12 inches. We're going to assume that this floor is going to be 6 inches. So, and there aren't any generic 6 inches here right now. So the easiest way to do that is just coming here and edit this generic type. And we're going to edit it. We're going to say, hey, let's duplicate this. We'll make it 6 inches. We'll accept that. And then we're going to go into edit structure and we're going to say minus, uh, yeah, delete, delete, not minus, but 6 inches in depth so that our generic floor now is 6 inches. And so we're going to say okay. And now we're going to start with a generic 6 inch. When we draw, the first floor is going to be the base level of what we draw. Okay. And so let's just do it. Uh, the easiest way I've found to model in uh, Revit is if you don't have a specific something to snap to, that it's easiest just to put in an object. For instance, I'm just going to put in this floor. It's too big, but that's okay because I can resize this easier than I can draw it actual to actual dimensions. So I'm just going to click here and say 50 feet because that's the size I want this. And then I'm going to click over here and say I want this dimension to be 50 feet. So it's a 50 foot by 50 foot square. Now, once I've drawn that, if I wanted to, I could select them all and move them about if I wanted to move them more centered in this or whatever. But anyway, so now I've got my parameters, uh, the perimeter of my floor, and it's 6 inches. Its top is going to be at first floor, and it's going to be 6 inches in depth. And so I'm just going to say, okay, that sounds good. And so then now let's go to the north view, okay, north elevation, and we can see that there's my finished floor, okay, and there is my 6 inch. You can call it a slab if you want to at this point. And you'll notice it's floating above our topography. Okay. Um, so to resolve that, what I'm going to do is come in and put a building pad underneath it. Normally, when you build a building, you will come in and build a building pad that will be the the level of your building and compacted. And so we'll talk about that later. So I'm going to go back to the site this time, okay? And let's put that building pad in, okay? So we're going to go into massing and site and go to building pad here, okay? And the building pad, you can see right here, if we look at that type, we'll see that it's set to 1 foot of thickness, okay, which works. And and then we want it to be from the finished floor, we want it to be a minus 6 inches down. So I'm going to put minus 6 inches here, okay? And so from the finished floor, it's going to be 6 inches down into the ground. And then I'm just going to, here, I'll just use a different tool this time. I'm going to pick lines. So I'm going to pick existing lines to be the boundary of that pad. And I could lock them to the edges, okay, of the floor, so that if I resize that floor, the pad would resize with it. And that's what happens when you lock something to something else. So if I lock that to that, to make this now lockable, I'm going to have to move it and push it back in, lock it, lock it, and lock it. Okay. And so with that locked, I'm just going to accept this. And now I have a pad. If I want to check and see, I can go in my north elevation. Okay. And you can see now, here's my pad right there. Okay. That's the part that's above the topology. And this is the part that's below it. And then, of course, right here is my floor surface that I put in. Okay, if I go to my 3D view and zoom in real close, you can see right here, there's that pad and the portion that's sticking out of the ground. It's made additional earth up from that. Okay, so now we have a floor. So the next thing we're going to do is add walls to it.